Focus on Headline. And let's take a look at what major issues are making the headlines today on Focus on Headline. For this, joining us in the studio, we have our Wednesday reporters in Han-dan and Yoon Hae-jung. Guys, welcome back.
Good evening. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's. You know, the first Happy Valentine's Day came from not my wife.
I'm so sorry. No chocolates for USJ, though. I totally forgot.
No.
Actually, I forgot that it was a Valentine's Day, meaning no chocolates for my husband either. So you're not the only one.
My producer says, and I agree with them, she's very much pregnant, and so she gets the full excuse. And hopefully I get the excuse next month as well. It's Valentine's Day, but it's really unusual the past couple of days that we've been seeing. In fact, today Korea woke up to the warmest morning for the month of February on record. I went to work at around 5:30 a.m. and boy, was it really warm even at that time. We had warm southwesterly winds blowing into the Korean peninsula. Don, we're going to talk about the unusual weather conditions to start us off. What do you have for us?
You know, my daughter, she came home from Hwang today and she's like, Mom, is summer already here?
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, she was like, it was too hot to play outside. Well, it indeed was a warm day, wasn't it? South Korea, in fact, saw the warmest ever morning for the month of February, with morning temperatures ranging between 1 to 11 degrees Celsius, a range that's normally seen in April. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration, morning low in Incheon climbed to 11 degrees Celsius, marking the highest level for February since the city's first weather observation data in 1904. The previous record was 8.5 degrees registered in February 2010. Highest ever morning temperatures for February were also observed in Gangwon provinces, with readings in Sokcho rising to over 13 degrees Celsius, while readings in the eastern coastal cities of Gangneung and Donghae also soaring to a record high of 13.6 degrees and 10.4 degrees, respectively. Morning lows in the central cities of Seosan, Hongseong, as well as southern cities of Yeonggwang in South Jeolla Province and Ulsan in North Gyeongsang Province also jumped significantly to over 10 degrees, hovering well above the seasonal norms. Seoul recorded a morning low of 8.8 degrees, the fourth highest for the month of February since observations began in the capital in 1907. Daytime temperatures ranged between 13 and 19 degrees, with afternoon highs topping out at 15 degrees in most regions. Readings during the nighttime are also expected to remain in the positive range. Meteorologists explain that temperatures are ahead of the season as warm and humid southwesterly winds blow into the lower atmosphere of Korea, riding on the edge of the high-pressure system located off the eastern coast of Japan. Readings are expected to decline, however, to normal levels from tomorrow as southwestward cold air passes through the Korean peninsula. You know, a little sideline story for our listeners who may be wondering just how warm it is here in Korea. Me and my family, we went to this famous ice valley in Cheongseong
County.
County
You were telling me about that,
of North Gyeongsang Province, where there's this huge cliff all covered in ice, creating a magnificent scenery. Various kinds of international ice climbing competitions are also held there. So yeah, we did see a lot of ice. It was there, but what we also saw was big chunks of ice melting and dropping from the top. So it was actually quite dangerous to get close to the cliff. So yeah, Korea, I think, is definitely seeing more unusually warm weather conditions on a more frequent basis.
Yeah, and it's just so volatile, right? I'm just kind of looking at curiosity struck, and I'm looking at the weather forecast for the next week or so. And right now it's 16 degrees, by the way, where we are. But today, very warm. And then tomorrow, like you said, kind of the seasonal norms, right? But it's also not only going to rain, but they're saying maybe it might even snow a bit as well. And then Friday, it's going to go to -2, the low. And then on Saturday, it goes up again, 11 degrees, Sunday 14 degrees, Monday 15 degrees, and then on Tuesday back down to 8. And so one of the things that we need to be very cautious about is usually when they have these fluctuations of volatile temperatures, it's when people get sick.
Right.
And, a lot of people have been getting sick these days. And so do practice caution if you're out and about. But as daytime temperatures rose significantly across the country, what we're also seeing in February, ladies and gentlemen, although it's very Valentine's Day-esque, spring flowers start to blossom over in the southern regions on Tuesday. Haejung, a bit early again to see spring flowers in the month of February, I'm guessing.
Right, but following the unusually warm weather, the southeastern port city of Busan and Jeju Island are already seeing plum blossoms, red cherry blossoms, and magnolias bloom. This as temperatures in the southern regions reached around 15 degrees Celsius due to the warm southwesterly winds, as Tan mentioned. Meanwhile, spring flowers such as forsythias and azaleas are expected to bloom about a week earlier than usual this year. This is because temperatures in February and March are expected to be slightly higher than usual years, which of course affects the blooming of spring flowers. Typical spring flowers such as forsythias and azaleas are expected to bloom 3 to 7 days earlier than usual. Now, enjoying flowers outdoors is a very popular activity in Korea that's enjoyed during springtime. So forsythias will bloom starting March 12th in Jeju Island and Busan, followed by Gwangju on the 16th, Daejeon on the 20th, and Seoul on the 21st. Azaleas will also bloom on March 12th in Jeju Island, followed by Busan on the 15th and the 22nd in Seoul and Daejeon.
I'm glad you mentioned azaleas. You know, our fandom name is azaleas, right? And so anytime we hear azaleas, this is like one of the few times we hear azaleas not on the chat room, but in news here. So, but again, the temperatures are going to be dropping again if you are in Seoul. So please dress accordingly. In the meantime, we're going to talk about North Korea. We've been talking about this interesting pattern of provocation that we've been seeing from Pyongyang. In previous years, we've been seeing a lot of ballistic missile tests. This year, we've been seeing a number of cruise missile tests. North Korea, once again, earlier this morning, firing several cruise missiles off the East Coast. Again, it's only February right now, but this marks the North's 5th cruise missile launch this year. Tan, let's get the details of this.
Sure. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said it detected several cruise missiles launched into waters northeast of North Korea's Wonsan, located on the east coast, at around 9 a.m. this morning. It said the South Korean and the U.S. intelligence are studying the missile specifics without telling the exact number of missiles fired. It said that while strengthening the military's monitoring and vigilance, it has been closely coordinating with the U.S. to monitor additional signs of provocations by the North. It marked the North's 5th cruise missile launch this year. The reclusive state test-fired a new strategic cruise missile, which it says is capable of carrying a nuclear warhead, named Bulhwasal 331, for the first time at the end of last month. Bulhwasal means a fire arrow in Korean.
Right.
The missile launch was followed by submarine-launched cruise missiles off the East Coast and 2 more rounds of tests involving Hwasal-2 strategic cruise missiles from the West Coast just days after. North Korea's barrage of cruise missile tests are widely seen as a move to diversify its provocation tools and heighten military threats in the region. Cruise missiles are capable of precision strikes, and they often fly at low altitudes, can frequently change their trajectory, making it harder to detect and intercept. Experts say North Korea's new cruise missiles can incapacitate our military's air defense network, and the scale of destruction widens if it carries a nuclear warhead, as the North claims. They say that Pyongyang has always sought new weapons that can effectively destroy its targets most efficiently and at a low cost. And their latest ones being tested now are the cruise missiles and nuclear torpedoes. Experts also analyze that North Korea is boasting the striking ability of its cruise missiles that put U.S. military bases in Okinawa, Japan, within range. Others also say it may be speeding up development for export to Russia, which is in desperate need of weapons in its prolonged war against Ukraine.
Yeah, and that's actually quite an interesting analysis because there's been a number of analyses as to why this year specifically. Again, I mean, it's only been 2 months into the new year, but why are there so many cruise missile tests when in the previous years we've been seeing a lot of ballistic tests, ballistic missile tests, and cruise missiles here and there and so forth. So one of the things that was brought up, as Tan said, it could be because that Russia is taking in a lot of North Korea's cruise missiles, and they're trying to test it out before they ship it out to Russia. The other is that notice over the past couple of months, I believe that South Korea, the U.S. and Japan have been sharing the missile information, right? Missile launch information and so forth. And they're saying that the cruise missile is harder to detect. And so they're going, well, why don't you try to detect this? And one of the other things I believe that they were boasting about is the fact that I think the one time that they did fire a ballistic missile, I think it was a short-range ballistic missile, they couldn't detect it all the way through. And so they're doing whatever they can to say, hey, listen, we have this technology, these missiles, and you can share all the missile information as possible that you want, but you're not really going to end up detecting it, is what they're trying to prove. But it does also seem, because of this prolonged war over in Ukraine, Russia might be requesting a lot of these cruise missiles. Also, South Korea's spy agency said a North Korean IT group operating overseas produced thousands of illegal gambling sites and sold them to South Korean crime organizations. Haejung, tell us more about this.
Right. According to the National Intelligence Service on Wednesday, the group is Gyeonghung Information Technology Exchange Company based in Dandong, China. It's under Office 39 of North Korea's ruling Workers' Party, and Office 39 is known to manage secret funds of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his family. The NIS has obtained photos and videos of the developing, selling, and operating the illegal sites, and the spy agency is also working with the police to identify the South Korean criminal organization that commissioned them to create thousands of gambling sites and sold them to earn trillions of won. It seems that the crime organization in South Korea have continued business with the North Koreans because of the low costs. The NIS said 15 members of the organization have produced various software for gambling websites for both adult and underage users through systematic division of labor, receiving $5,000 for each site created and $3,000 on a monthly basis for maintenance and repair works. They also received an additional $2,000 to $5,000 a month if they attracted extra users. And each North Korean sent $500 from the profits they earned to Pyongyang every month. Now, they're staying at a dormitory in a garment factory in Dandong City, China, which is owned and operated by a North Korean Chinese businessman. Dandong has emerged as a garment production base in China using North Korean labor, and it is reported that the North Korean IT group members are staying there to earn illegal foreign currency. Then how did they get their work in the first place? The North Koreans would pose as Chinese IT developers, either through Chinese brokers or photoshopping their photos on Chinese IDs, which are exposed on portal sites. And then they would hunt for work on social media and job searching sites. They also stole IT industry credentials and PhDs to pose as foreigners with IT skills and actively sought orders to build highly profitable and illegal gambling sites. Then they used bank accounts in Chinese names, alias accounts in South Korean cyber gambling organizations, and PayPal to collect payments, cash them at banks in China, and bring the money back to North Korea. The Korean spy agency the North Korean IT workers who stole a total of around 1,100 personal data points from users on the gambling sites had attempted to sell these personal information as well.
Geez, this really goes on the next level, and they're right. It's very cheap for them to just pay $5,000 for each site, $3,000 for maintenance, and even if you give them an additional, it comes out to about $10,000 per month. Not even a month, because it's $5,000 for one time for the website, and they're hauling in hundreds of thousands of dollars through these illegal gambling sites. And one of the things that I saw on the news before is they cracked down, the police cracked down on a operator of an illegal gambling site, and in their homes were like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, just basically in there, right? And so I don't know if they'll be able to crack it down. I mean, they know that it exists, right? But are they going to be able to crack down on this is the big thing here. North Korea, Russia stepping up efforts to boost cultural exchanges with more groups of Russian tourists expected to visit North Korea next month. Tan, let's also get more on this.
Pyongyang and Moscow are moving quickly to further deepen their ties across various sectors. Following their suspected arms cooperation, the two are now focusing on boosting their cultural exchanges. According to Russian media reports, the second and third groups of Russian tourists are scheduled to travel to selected tourist sites in the north in early March. This comes after the first group of 97 Russian tourists entered North Korea last week for the first time since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic more than 3 years ago. The first group is believed to have visited Pyongyang as well as the Masikryong ski resort in Gangwon province, some 20 kilometers away from eastern coastal city of Wonsan. The second group is set to embark on a 4-day trip from March 8th through to the 11th, followed by a 5-day trip by a third group from March 11th to the 15th. North Korea is reportedly seeking to complete construction of the Wonsan Galma coastal tourist district in the near future to attract more foreign tourists, including Russians. Dozens of hotels and other lodging facilities, as well as a wide array of stores, are expected to be built in the tourist district that stretches around 3 kilometers. Along with the skyways that have already opened, North Korea is reportedly seeking to attract more Russian tourists by utilizing land and sea routes that connect the north with Russia's far east in the near the border. Russian ambassador to North Korea, Alexander Matsugora, has previously said that he hopes a ferry service linking ports in North Korea's Dajin and Russia's Vladivostok will be restored, noting that the ferry route was very popular. A top Russian official also has mentioned that Pyongyang and Moscow are working to launch a railway route for passengers that connect Dajin and Russia's Hasan station.
Yeah, again, I mean, considering the fact that during the pandemic, I mean, there was no tourists in place, there was no resort money coming in through tourism, right? And surprisingly, there was a significant amount coming in. And one of the surprising things that I'm sure many people know by now is Americans were allowed to visit North Korea, but South Koreans aren't, right? And so it was I can't say it's a popular destination, but I know that very adventurous travelers have always sought to go to North Korea, and not to promote tourism to North Korea, but I heard Wonsan is a beautiful area. North Korean delegation also visited Vladivostok upon Russia's invitation to discuss ways to further expand their cultural ties. Don, what about this? What do we know in regards to this?
According to the Korean Central News Agency, a delegation of North Korea's ruling Workers' Party, led by Kim Soo-gil, the party's alternate member of the political bureau, held talks with their Russian counterparts in Vladivostok. The visit came upon invitation from Russia's ruling United Russia Party. They discussed ways to boost cultural and people-to-people exchanges between the two countries as the two sides pledged deeper cooperation in various fields. Not much has been unveiled, but after the meeting, Primorsky Krai Governor Oleg Kozemiako said that they discussed ways to boost cooperation between the Primorsky Krai and North Korea in the humanitarian field, while also seeking ways to actively bolster exchanges in the fields of culture, sports, and tourism. He also added that a ballet troupe of the Vladivostok Mariinsky Theater is preparing to perform in Pyongyang in March, and that he expects a reciprocal visit and performance by North Korean artists soon. North Korean delegation is scheduled to attend the first meeting of an international forum titled For the Freedom of Nations, set to be held from this Thursday to Saturday, according to the KCNA, which didn't disclose further details of their itinerary. According to the website of United Russia Party, the forum aims to develop multilateral cooperation for, quote-unquote, the fight against modern practices of neo-colonialism.
Trying to fight modern practices of neocolonialism. They're trying to take over Ukraine is what we're seeing on the news these days. South Korea's defense ministry and also the Pentagon will be leading the third meeting of the Nuclear Consultative Group. This is slated for June in Seoul to discuss a shared nuclear strategy, again to deter North Korea's nuclear threats. Haejang, let's get more on this.
Today, according to South Korea's defense ministry, Cho Jong-rae, Seoul's deputy defense minister for policy, and Vipin Narang, principal U.S. deputy assistant secretary of defense for space policy, signed a framework document on the nuclear consultative group's operation at the Pentagon on Monday local time. The Nuclear Consultative Group, or the NCG, was established under the Washington Declaration that President Yoon Suk-yeol and U.S. President Joe Biden adopted during their summit in Washington in April 2023 as part of efforts to enhance deterrence against evolving North Korean nuclear and missile threats. The first two NCG meetings were led by the National Security Councils of the two countries and joined by defense, foreign policy, military, and intelligence officials from both sides. The inaugural meeting was held in Seoul in July, and the second one took place in Washington in December. And under the recently signed framework, Joe and Narang will lead the third session slated for June in Seoul. The upcoming meeting is expected to draw guidelines encompassing a whole range of issues, including information sharing, security systems, consultation procedures for a nuclear crisis, and the operation of a real-time leader-level communication channel. Now, once complete, the guidelines will be implemented during the Ulji Freedom Shield, which is an annual joint military exercise to be held between the two nations' militaries in August. And the ROK-US NCG will enter a full-scale operational phase after the third meeting in June. Now, with the signing of the framework, the defense ministries of South Korea and the United States will continue to hold regular working level NCG meetings to work on various aspects of North Korean deterrence.
Yeah, and I think that was a big question at the start because, I mean, there was a lot of anticipation in the beginning that this NCG would actually lead to some sort of tangible results in really trying to deter North Korea, right? I mean, it's the first meeting that was held, they were saying, well, it was sort of the same meetings, the same agenda that they do in other meetings between like the defense ministers and so forth. The second one didn't really come out with anything new as well, but it does seem like with this third meeting now, like they're saying a full-scale operational phase. We'll have to see what that exactly means, but for them to actually talk about a consultation procedure for a nuclear crisis and also the operation of real-time leader-level communication channel, these are new things that have not been mentioned, I believe, in the past here. Let's move on here. Korean Air, South Korea's largest air carrier, has won a conditional approval from the European Union's antitrust agency for its merger with this smaller rival Asiana Airlines. And with this, an approval from the U.S. authority is now the last remaining hurdle to complete the takeover bid that lasted nearly 3 years now. So, Tan, let's get the latest on this.
Right. The birth of Korea's mega carrier is now in sight as Korean Air cleared a key hurdle to closing its proposed acquisition of Asiana Airlines. The European Commission announced its approval of Korean Air's merger with Asiana Airlines on Tuesday local time. Korean Air has now successfully obtained approval from 13 of the 14 regulatory authorities required for its bid to combine its businesses with Asiana, inching closer to completing the long-delayed $1.4 billion merger deal. An approval from the U.S. is now the last barrier to clear. But the approval is conditional upon full compliance with the remedies offered by Korean Air. Long story short, companies must close the deal to sell off Asiana's cargo business and transfer 4 major European passenger routes to T-Way, a domestic low-cost carrier. Korean Air and Asiana Airlines must undertake various measures to fulfill their commitments related to the cargo segment. These steps include engaging an advisory firm to supervise the divestment of Asiana's cargo freighter business, commencing the bidding process, and identifying a final purchaser for the cargo business. Approval from the European Commission for the chosen buyer is necessary to finalize the airline's merger agreement. Korean Air is expected to finish the selection process of a potential buyer of Asiana's cargo business before October this year. It said it'll also help its local budget rival T-Way Air to gradually launch new routes to Paris, Rome, Barcelona, and Frankfurt sometime during the second half to maintain a competitive environment in the relevant markets. Now, these routes are the ones where the EU has raised concerns about restrictions and competition due to the integration of the two companies. The EU antitrust body's full approval will be given when and if the two airlines follow through with these remedial measures. Korean Air is just one step away from completing its merger deal, but it must now win approval from the United States. And unlike Europe, U.S. competition authorities do not set a separate approval deadline. They don't directly prohibit corporate mergers, but they rely on court cases and rulings, which experts say makes the merger much more challenging. A notable concern is that U.S. airlines such as United Airlines, that has a code share with Asiana, have been vocal in their opposition to the merger, citing concerns about route competition. If Korean Air and Asiana merge, monopoly concerns could arise for routes to major cities, including New York, LA, Seattle, Honolulu, and San Francisco. So we'll have to see how things pan out.
Yeah, it's interesting. You learn a lot from the way that the stock prices move with these news because Asiana IDT, this is the IT service management company under Asiana. So once they do a full merger, this company sort of, you don't need this company anymore. So they lost over 18%. Today. And then Asiana Airlines itself went down nearly 9% on the news because now you have one more hurdle, right, which is the United States. But what's interesting is a lot of people are still hopeful. They still bet on this and purchase stocks of Asiana Airlines because they do understand that the United States, again, Tana explained very nicely why it's so difficult for the U.S. to give approval here. So there are some people who are saying that the U.S. might not even approve this. And then now the Asiana Airline price is going to skyrocket once again, is what people are betting on right now. But again, over 3 years, and still the merger hasn't happened yet. Today, Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok chairing an emergency meeting of economy-related ministers at the government complex over here in Seoul. And during this meeting, follow-up tasks on the recent series of government public debates were discussed as well. Hae-jung, tell us some of the measures that were being discussed at that meeting.
Right. A number of tasks were discussed. First, on housing, Finance Minister Choi said that the government will accelerate the supply of housing, adding that they have finalized 13 of the 77 tasks discussed during the recent government public debate on housing. Now, some measures include passing legislative amendments related to providing public housing by the private sector and speeding up redevelopment. He also mentioned that for the first new towns in Korea, these are satellite cities such as Ilsan and Pundang. Now, in each city, a district is going to be designated for reconstruction, and these districts will be decided in May, which is much earlier than originally scheduled. Now, second, follow-up measures for a semiconductor mega cluster was also discussed. An advanced semiconductor academy program in cooperation with the Netherlands to foster innovative talent will kick off next week as a related measure. The government has also come up with a customized support plan for local governments to speed up the creation of high-tech industry clusters. Minister Choi added that for the 7 high-tech strategic industry clusters where sites are currently being built, the government will remove the limit on the number of times financial support can be provided, which is currently limited to just once. Also, the government plans to promote more than 30 follow-up measures this year to create tangible results in new growth sectors such as mobility and bio. Third, the K-Food Plus exports, which groups K-Food and agricultural products and other food-related industries, will see expanded support to reach $13.5 billion of support this year. On a related note, today President Yoon joined with leaders of foreign investment companies at the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He said that he will strive to make Korea the best place in the world to do business. And here, Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy An Deok-gun announced the government's plans to facilitate foreign investment. And foreign investment companies share their opinions as well on expanding investment incentives and increasing investment in various fields such as finance, labor, and energy.
Now, beginning this month, small business owners can apply for a special government support aimed at reducing the burden of their electricity costs. So, Donna, can you tell us who's eligible for the special subsidy?
Right. Small businesses currently up and running with annual sales of less than 30 million won will be eligible to receive the benefit. The Ministry of SMEs and Startups has earmarked 252 billion won for the special electricity bill support for small businesses, and those eligible will receive up to 200,000 won. The support will be applied to a wide range of electricity uses, including those for general, industrial, agricultural, and educational uses, but they have to be for non-residential purposes. Applications can be made both on and offline. When applying online, search for 소상공인 전기요금 or small business electricity rates, or you can visit nearest 소상공인 시장진흥공단 or Small Enterprise and Market Service to make offline applications. Submissions will begin next Wednesday and close on April 20th.
Let's move on to sports. I don't know if you guys remember Marine Boy, Park Tae-hwan, right? And his success sort of paved the way for maybe some future swimmers here in South Korea. Unfortunately, there was many years of just no medals at the Olympics, Asian Games, or any of these major events. But ever since the recent Asian Games, we've been seeing these young swimmers come out and about, really dominating in their respective events. And this time around, you have South Korean swimming star Hwang Sun-woo having claimed gold medal in the men's 200-meter freestyle at the World Championships over in Doha, Qatar. You have Kim Woo-min, who also won gold medal in the men's 400-meter freestyle earlier this week. Divers as well, Kim Soo-ji and Lee Jae-kyung having captured bronze medal in their respective events. Haejang, we're going to talk sports again. Let's get some good news here.
Right. We have quite a few medals here, so I'll go in chronological order. Starting with South Korean divers Kim Soo-ji and Lee Jae-kyung. They've captured a bronze medal in a synchronized event at the World Aquatics Championship in Doha on Saturday, local time. Kim and Lee scored 285.03 points to finish third in the mixed 3-meter synchronized synchronized event, and the Australian team and Italian team each came in first and second. They became the first South Korean diving duo to win a synchronized medal at a World Championship. They had ranked fourth in the same synchronized event at last year's World event in Fukuoka, Japan. Now, on Sunday local time, Kim Woo-min won his monumental gold medal with a personal best time of 3 minutes 42.71 seconds. Kim held off the 2022 world champion Elia Winnington of Australia by 0.15 seconds, while Lucas Martins of Germany came in third. Kim, aged 22, is only the second South Korean swimmer to win a world title, joining the two-time 400-meter freestyle champion Park Tae-hwan. And moving on to the most latest good news, Hwang Sun-woo clocked 1 minute 44.75 seconds for the gold at the championships on Tuesday. And Donas Rapsis of Lithuania finished in for the silver, while Luke Hobson of the United States won the bronze medal. Now, Hwang is just 20, and he's the third South Korean winner to win a world title, joining Park Tae-hwan and Kim Woo-min. And Hwang's medal was South Korea's fourth in Doha, the most the country has won at a single world championship. His latest gold medal finish makes him the first South Korean to win a medal at 3 straight swimming world championships, as he won silver in the 200-meter freestyle 2 years ago and followed that up with a bronze last year.
Yeah, I think Hwang Sun-woo's next events, I think, would be the 100-meter freestyle, I think, is left over. And then there's the 4x200 relay. And the 402, again, I don't know if you guys remember the Asian Games, but the Team Korea did really, really well. And so they're saying that they are actually medal contenders at the World Championships. And the reason why we watch the World Championships very closely, although slightly different from the Olympics, but it's as close as you can get from the Olympics. Like some of the top swimmers, whether it be through injuries, like they don't compete at the World Championships, but I mean you could kind of see how they're going to fare come the next Summer Games, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is only a few months away. It's this year over in Paris. So congratulations to them. Really good to see that they're excelling in this particular sport here. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed whatever the rest of warmth we have until the cold comes back. But until then, we'll see you guys again.
Thank you.
You can listen to Korea Now with me, SJ Lee, by downloading the Arirang radio application or tune in online by visiting www.arirangradio.com. So make sure you tune in Mondays through Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Korea time.